Today we're joined by Jeff Pouquette, long-term partner of Harbinger and owner of Southside Wrecker. His journey includes building and selling his first business, acquiring Southside Wrecker, and creating a truly remarkable work culture. He is highly respected in the towing industry, and on this episode, he shares his story and the hard-earned wisdom he's gained for anyone looking to grow their business or elevate the business they've already built. Enjoy. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. It's really amazing to have an opportunity to sit down with you because we started working together, 7 or 8 years ago. One of the first partners for Harbinger. I'm thankful for you coming on and sharing your story and just letting us pick your brain a little bit.
Sure.
The best place to start is just to jump on in and asking you how you came about starting in this business, Southside Wrecker.
You want to hop in the Wayback Machine for a minute?
Absolutely.
All right. So, how deep you want to go? So I actually, when I graduated in '89, I ended up by accident getting into the wrecker service industry and stuck with it for a few years. Moved to Georgia. I started my first company in 1996. Grew it to only 2 trucks. Ended up selling it. Did all right. And went to work for Southside Wrecker in 2003. At that point, Southside was on the 2nd generation of ownership. And one day, the owner, the daughter of the man who founded Southside, asked me and a friend of mine, Bart, who's now my partner, to have a meeting. And when we sat down, she slid an NDA across the table. And kind of had an idea what that probably meant. And that started a year-long process, a year-long difficult, tedious process to get the funding and make the deal go down. So that was January 2008 when we finally closed on the business. And
Wow.
Been loving every minute of it since.
When you said you accidentally got into the industry, tell me more about that. How did that work?
So I went to a technical high school and got trained in auto body work. And that's what I was going to do. I was in Connecticut at that time, but my dream was I was moving to Vermont and I was opening my own body shop, right? I graduate, I'm full-time in a body shop, and the economy just crashed up there. I got laid off. All but 2 people at the body shop I worked for got laid off. So now I'm out looking for a body shop. Well, it was the whole local economy that crashed. There were no body shop jobs. So I went to a place called Breezy Point in Stratford, Connecticut. They were an automotive and trucking empire. They had service bays, a truck repair shop, road service, towing. They built wreckers, had a body shop for trucks. So I'm over there trying to interview for a body shop job in the truck shop. And I sat there for hours and hours and hours. And the manager just kept getting too busy. I'll be with you in a minute. So I'm sitting there. Well, I was spending my time in the dispatch office because the dispatcher, it was an acquaintance of mine. I knew the guy in there. So that's where I hung out while I was waiting on that manager to come out and interview me. The wrecker service got really, really busy. And I'm sitting there, and when things got busy there, the son of the owner was expected to jump in a truck. He had his own perfect little truck. Nobody got to touch. It was kept over in the side of the shop. He hated getting in the truck, though. So he comes back. They call him, hey, we got to get you in a truck. Walks in the door and says, who are you? I said, I'm Jeff Pouquette. I'm here to interview with Tommy for a body shop job. Feel like running some wrecker calls? You think you can run a wrecker? I said, well, I've been staring at him out the window from the body shop for all these years. I've got a pretty good idea. I can figure it out. So they said, well, we'll just give you like jump starts, tire changes, stuff like that. If you just help us out today, come back in the morning, interview for the body shop job. So I go out and my very first call was supposed to be a jump start, wouldn't jump start. I'm out there. I have to figure out how to tow this car now, right? So I did it. Well, I call in that I'm done. Hey, got another tow for you. Did a good job. I ended up running until about 1 o'clock that morning. I come back in 8 a.m. to do my interview for the body shop. And a guy comes out, walks in. He goes, hey, are you the guy that helped us out yesterday? And I said, yeah. He said, come with me. pulls me outside, introduces himself as Ralph, the owner of the company, and says, I wanted to tell you, I really appreciate it. You kind of got us out of a jam yesterday by being willing to hop in a truck. He says, I don't need anybody in the body shop. I need wrecker drivers. You want to drive a wrecker? And I said, I'm open to it. It was fun, you know? And so he said, I'll make you a deal. You could use my trucks. You could use my mechanic for training. I don't need a light-duty wrecker driver. I need a heavy-duty wrecker driver. You got 30 days to get your Class A CDL. You do it, you get to keep the job. You don't have your CDL in 18 days, I had my CDL. So that just started it all for me. And so here I am, a kid, towing tractor trailers down the interstate. It's pretty exciting for an 18, 19-year-old kid. So that's where the real bug was caught, and that's where it started for me. Then you just...
Did you go from there to, you said that you started, the first tractor service had a couple trucks. How'd you make that leap? So
I've always had it inside me. I wasn't going to work for any, you know, I had to here and there in life, but it was never part of my personality to go punch a clock somewhere. So when I moved to Georgia, I went to work for a local wrecker service, but they were getting bought out. Owners were having health problems, and they got bought out by a company I didn't care much for at the time. So I just didn't. I left. Ended up having enough savings to buy a truck, and started that. And over about a year and a half, I had the second truck and ran that for probably about 6 or 7 years. And I kind of ended up moving in a direction where most of my work was coming from one client. One day they just said, "Man, just come work for us." I was getting a little burnt out trying to do the whole 24/7 thing by myself. It sounded good. They gave me a good offer, and I took it. And their son is Bart, who is my partner now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's how that all progressed. And that's how me and Bart ended up. Yeah.
So that wasn't Southside Wreckers at the time, that right? That bought you all out. Okay.
That was Advanced Towing and Recovery right here in Tyrone, Georgia.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
Very cool. So then you and Bart, did y'all both go to Southside at the same time?
Yes. Yeah. So Bart, his family, I left their family business to go to work for Southside. Just had that wrecker bug. What I was doing over there wasn't exciting to me anymore. So
it was mostly light duty?
Yeah. Made the jump over to Southside. And then when his parents decided to sell their trailer rental company, he needed a job, came and applied for an office position at Southside. And I guess that's where the owner said, these two together might be able to.
Well, now you've taught any listener how to apply for a job,
Yeah.
what people are looking for. So now what kind of employee were you at that company to make the owner of that company sit down with you and say, I want you to own the company? Like, what did they see?
I
Like,
always approached the job and the position like I own the place. I drove the oldest heavy duty in the fleet. It was always cleaner than all the new trucks. Better organized. I was the guy coming out of pocket. She wouldn't pay for anybody to go to training classes. I was the only one stepping up and paying my own way to go through these training classes. And so I just kind of kept trying to present myself as that person, right? And
was it in your mind that that's what you ultimately one day want it to happen?
Yes, not necessarily by Southside.
Yeah.
But yes.
Gotcha. That's where you're headed.
Get back to ownership, yeah. So I just kind of eventually worked my way into driver manager, lead trainer in the company. So I just kind of kept trying to level up my position in the company. And I guess eventually she saw something she liked and she was ready to get out of it. Her dad had started it. Unfortunately, he passed. He had a heart attack during working a truck wreck, a recovery wreck. And she ended up with the company. She did really well with it. She grew it, made it very successful, but got to where I don't think her heart was in it anymore and wanted to move on and do something else. So it just turned out to be a good opportunity for everybody at that time. So.
I want to ask more about that because that's something I think is very rare for people to hear about and understand. Like, how does a transaction of that nature work in a small business, both from like an ownership perspective, because there's probably, people in our audience who own those businesses who don't have someone that they're gonna, pass it down to, and how do you sell to employees? And then from an employee perspective, like, what was that conversation like? If you can peel back the curtain and kind of let us see, well, how did that work? Because was she taking it to the open market, as well as considering you guys, or?
Well, we did find out after the fact it had been on the market. We did not know that she was also trying. She had previously, not at the time where she offered it to us, but she'd had some people approach her. Nothing worked out. She told us that the people that were approaching her, they had the funds, but she didn't think it was in their heart. And it was still her dad's business in her mind. She wanted somebody who's really, and she didn't see that out of the others. Some other family members of hers made an attempt. From what she said, they just couldn't get the funds together, couldn't get that in line. I don't know much about that part of it, but I know they were interested, and they've actually reached out a few times over the years. Hey, ready to sell yet? And we're not ready to sell. There's a lot of consolidation going on in the industry, but we're not there yet. We're not ready for that yet.
So I'm like, was it something that was a long transition, short transition? Did she own her finance? I'm just curious, like, what did the structure of that deal look like?
We went with, for primary funding was done through the SBA, through a commercial lender. They required some owner financing through her. The whole process took about a year. A lot of that, if it wasn't for the SBA's paperwork, it probably could have been done in 3 or 4 months. But I mean, it was just the hoops you have to. SBA is a great organization. They help a lot of people get up and going. They help people expand. But it's a lot more difficult to go through the SBA than a regular lender. The good part is they'll take more risk than a regular lender. The lender will take a risk because the SBA is guaranteeing the loan. So for me, I didn't even own a house yet, and I'm buying this massive company. I still don't know how I talked them into giving me money. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And so yeah, right at a year, we went to the closing. After the closing, she asked Bart and myself, hey, would you mind hanging back? I want to go back to the company and pull a meeting together and let everybody know. We said, okay. She went, she got everybody together. And we were really happy when we found out when she made the announcement, all the employees got up and started clapping.
Wow. So that's awesome.
That
because they already looked at you. They must have
confidence.
all looked at you already. And
Yeah, it gave me some extra confidence knowing that coming in, because I felt these people would be a lot more receptive to the change.
and how long was that period of time that you worked in the company before?
5 years.
5 years. Gotcha.
Yep. And it worked out really well. We went into it. We started, Bart and myself, with some pretty lofty goals. Hope you got a cough button. We wanted to get everybody. Everybody was straight up commission, no guaranteed pay, no training, no nothing. Warm bodies in the trucks for the most part. We wanted mandatory training. We wanted to get to where we could provide benefits, healthcare, paid vacation, all that good stuff. We wanted everybody was on call 24/7 for 5 days. I think it was 5 days in a row, 24 hours, 2 days off, another 5 days on. That's miserable. And you're not going to get the best people you can running those shifts. And commission, if they might come in, they might be on call for 24 hours, run 2 calls and not really make any money. We didn't like that. We felt that was not a good way to treat your employees. So, yeah. So now, fast forward, Everybody's, a lot of transportation companies are exempt for overtime pay. Because we're regulated by the feds, we get to have a little loophole there. And most companies take advantage of that and say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't pay overtime. We pay overtime. You're going to give me more than 40 hours of your time each week, we're going to take care of you. So we did that. We increased the amount of paid vacation everybody got. Started updating the fleet with nicer stuff. You know, one thing about her was she was financially motivated, right? She wanted to buy the cheapest truck she could. No bells and whistles, no nothing. Well, again, you're asking a guy to spend 10 hours a day in that truck. He deserves the air ride seat. He deserves the power windows. He deserves the air conditioning working, right? So we just really tried to lift everybody up to where we wanted them to be, and we wanted them. Our turnover within the first year or two, our turnover dropped to darn near nothing. We've had people. I mean, most of our people, I'd say 90% of our drivers have been with us over 5 years. They just
That's
stay.
incredible.
They just stay.
Now, all those things you just described are intentional expenses and investments.
Yes.
How did you manage that, at the same time of paying for the company, paying the SPA, and being able to also increase your expense line? Like, how did you think through that? Did you know at the time, like, these are long-term decisions that are going to pay off? Like, what was your thought process?
We were very confident they would pay off. I think we thought they were going to happen quicker than they did. It took a couple years to do it, but part of that was navigating increased expense, how do we get the increased revenue to cover that expense, which really wasn't difficult. A problem in our industry is there's a lot of low ballers because they don't even know what their costs are. They're trying to do everything on cash, W-9 their drivers instead of a W-2 employee and everything, cutting a lot of quarters. We knew we didn't want to do that. We knew we had room to raise the rates at that point. There hadn't been an increase in a couple years, so we kind of knew we had that in the gas tank for us. A rate increase is already due, so let's work on that. What we ended up doing is really changing the game here in Atlanta, especially on the heavy duty end of things, because everything was hookup and mileage. So if somebody called up, their road tractor was broken down, their tractor trailer was broken down, it was so many dollars to hook up, and that's hooking up to the tow truck, removing the drive line, running air and electrical to the trailer and everything. That was a fee, and then there was a per mile fee. Well, we started realizing, wait a minute, we're sitting in traffic an awful lot. We're not turning that odometer. We need to be paid. We've got these $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 trucks sitting in traffic, not making a dime, but they're burning fuel, they're burning payroll, all that stuff. So we decided we're going to go to hourly on the fees for heavy trucks, and that was not occurring in Atlanta. It was occurring in different regions of the U.S., but it had not come to it. So we went out and met with some of our clients and explained to them what we were doing. Some of them they weren't sure what to think about it. Is this going to cost me more money? Well, yeah, it actually is a little bit, because we need to be paid while we're sitting there in traffic. But nothing significant. It just ensured that we were paid for the time we're spending on the call. Other clients, like major, like national trucking companies, they're like, well, we've been waiting for it. It's so much easier. You guys in Atlanta are the only ones not doing this right now. We've been waiting for someone to do it. Well, it was really interesting. A competitor caught wind that we were going around having this conversation with our customers, caught wind, and jumped in and followed behind us, figured out who we were going to. They knew who our clients were, and started knocking on their door. Oh my God, we heard Southside's going hourly on you guys. You don't want that. That's so much more expensive. You should stick with us. If they do that to you, and we got a lot of feedback from our clients. Hey man, this other company's in here really trying to knock you down for trying to go. And so we were wondering if it was the right thing to do. Then this amazing thing called COVID came along, and everything went berserk. You had towing companies refusing to take passengers. You had like, somebody's in a tractor trailer, they break down. They might be 1,000 miles from home. They might be 100 miles from the terminal they need to get to. And there were towing companies actually going out there and saying, I'll tow your truck, you're not getting in my truck. You got to call an Uber or whatever. Just terrible customer service. And so everything just got so weird going into that shutdown and everything. We said, man, we got to strike while the iron's hot. Everything's crazy. A lot of people are upset with their towers right now because they're doing this whole no passenger thing. And we said, you know what? We're not even going to discuss it with anybody. We're just going to do it. We're just going to start sending, we're going to change the way we bill. We didn't get kickback from anybody. Everybody saw how much simpler it was. Hey, we called you at 5. You called us at 8. You were done. That's 3 hours. You charge us for 3 hours. Think about everything you do. You go get your car worked on, it's hourly. I mean, just about anything you do. It's not hookup and mileage or all these different fees stacking up. A lot of services, plumbing, HVAC, a lot of those guys are charging you by the hour for the job and everything. So I think it just, after the initial change, I think everybody just really liked it. And now every heavy wrecker service in the Atlanta area is on hourly. So you're welcome, guys. It's so much better for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the transitions, but that's one of the things that allowed us to fund the increase in benefits and pay and everything. Another weird thing around here, there's a lot of 1099 wrecker drivers around here. These poor guys, they think it's great. Oh my gosh, I don't get taxes taken out. Yeah, but you got to pay them. You're supposed to be paying those things quarterly. And they don't get it. And we've had drivers come to work for us to dig themselves out of the hole they created for themselves working on a 1099 for another wrecker service.
Because they think the barrier to entry is low, right?
So that's how we did it. We just try to approach everything. We love our people and we want them to know we love them. You know, they work hard. I joke with them. I want them to be as happy as possible so they stay as long as possible so I don't get as many 2 a.m. phone calls, right? So it took years. For probably the first 10 years of owning Southside, I was still answering those truck wreck calls. I was still hopping in a heavy tow truck and going out and working wrecks. And after several years of that, I realized, you know, if I'm out 10 hours at night working a cleanup on a truck wreck, I'm worthless on my administrative tasks the next day. I'm probably home sleeping. I started realizing I was doing a disservice to the company by trying to remain in a truck. I had to either get in a truck and hire someone to manage the things I was managing, or I needed to get out of the truck, just make a break. All right, I'm done driving tow trucks. Now I'm running the company. And luckily, our crew is fantastic. You know, they go out and handle everything. I get a middle of the night phone call maybe once a month now instead of 2 or 3 a night. So that's made my life a lot nicer. Yeah. So
what has the growth story, like to summarize that, looked like since y'all bought the company or since you started with them to like where Southside is today? What does that growth look like in terms of like number of drivers and trucks and that kind of thing?
So the fleet is roughly twice the size of what it was in 2008. On top of that, the fleet's a lot nicer than it was in 2008. There's been a lot of additional equipment purchased, specialized equipment that a lot of wrecker services don't have. So revenue, we're at about 4 times annual revenue than we were when we bought it. We're not trying to be the biggest. I know it's cliche, but we're trying to be the best. And man, that takes a daily effort. So.
How have y'all gone about making that growth happen?
I think this is where I do that plug for Harbinger Marketing. You've been a big part of it, of course. We're going to discuss that. I mean, it's just employee dedication. It's the services you guys provide. We had some growth, but it was kind of like you were getting growth wherever you could find it, right? Once we got on board with you guys, we're able to kind of focus where we wanted to grow, right? There's certain lines of revenue in a towing company that are more profitable than others. With Harbinger, we're allowed to focus on those areas in particular. So it really helps. We get a lot of interaction through the posts, social media posts you guys do. I've had people start following us, and they'll comment on things, on posts that you guys have created. I don't know who these people are, but they're always interacting with us on social media. And then like 2 years later, you might get a phone call, and they call, and you recognize the name, and they're like, man, I've been watching your Facebook page for years, man. Guess what? I have a cement mixer half turned over in a swamp right now. Can you come help me? So it's just the ability to stay in front of these people's faces, keep the name fresh in their mind. It really does a lot. The website, we get compliment after compliment. I didn't know how to feel about it, but I had someone call me, and they were asking about the website, who did it, and I mentioned them, and they said, yeah, we want one built that looks just like yours. Like, no, go do something else. Get your own. I know mine's the best, but so yeah, it's funny. Some of the interactions. We go to tow shows, any kind of towing association meeting. You guys come up a lot. A lot of people ask us, who's doing this for you? So that's definitely helped, because where you guys help us with is what we refer to as private tows. People just calling in, right? Just broke down. They need to call us versus the commercial accounts. They're going to call you regardless. You've been working with them for 10 years. We need new business. We need more people coming in.
Because that's how you get a commercial account. You got to get them to call for the first time. Yeah. And if the person they're normally calling isn't
you got to prove yourself
available,
that first time. You've got that one chance to prove yourself and make a mark. So, yeah, it's a lot of how we got here. So thank you.
No, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Tell me more about the people aspect, because it seems like you've been very intentional with building and investing in your people and building that culture. Like when you started doing that with Bart, what were those conversations early on? Was it very tactical and like intentional, or was it just based upon who you guys were? And what was that like to build that culture from?
So I'll tell you, I used to be a little bit of a hothead jerk, and that's not a good way to manage, right? I don't know. I've got that problem where I expect everything to be done. Like, this is how Southside does it. This is how we need to do it. Hey, when things went wrong, and they do, I always took it too personally. That being my company, I just took it personally when something went wrong like that. And I'd get frustrated, and frustration leads to getting upset with someone. And after a couple of years of being like that, I just really started looking at myself and saying, these are the best people. They're helping you be successful. You got to stop doing that. You got to approach these people one-on-one as equals. I don't like being called boss. It drives me nuts when people call me boss. I tell everybody, we're coworkers. I just have a lot more stress than you do because my name's on everything, right? I don't become the boss until a major decision needs to be made. Other than that, when we're out on recs, we're out on jobs together, we're all here. We're all equal. We're all working towards a common goal. And I think they see that. And it's funny, the guys that have been with us 10, 15 years, they're like, oh man, keep old Jeff away. Yeah, we're digging the new Jeff. Keep it coming, keep it coming. So it's kind of a little joke between the old timers with us and everything. Like, hothead finally calmed down. So, yeah, I had to make the changes, like to me personally, to treat our employees the way I wanted them to be treated. So a lot of it was an internal kind of.
Tell me how that is in a partnership, because what you described, quite a tremendous amount of growth. Embark being, on that, being on the same page must be really important. How have you managed successfully building a partnership that works?
So I think one key to it all is neither of us is greedy. Neither of us are trying to become millionaires. We might get there, right? We'll get there. But that's not both of us truly want to help people. We want to be involved in our communities. So we have a very similar mindset. You take the greed out of it, right? Isn't that what ruins a lot of partnerships? One person starts thinking they deserve a little more than the other. I'm working harder. I'm working more hours. That doesn't happen with us. We've got a really good connection there. First few years were really difficult trying to navigate the partnership thing to where like we knew who was responsible for what. I think in the beginning, Bart and I were just, whoever got a task was trying to do the task. And it took several years for us to start. And this was a natural thing that just started to occur. I was better at some tasks. He was better at some tasks. And we just naturally kind of divided the responsibilities. That became even easier when we opened the second location in Noonan. Because now he'd stay up in Union City. I came down to work the expansion into Noonan. So now we really had to divide things up, right? So a lot of administration stuff, he took all of that and kept it up at the main office in Union City. Down in Noonan, I focused on training, truck maintenance, all that, more the operational end of things as far as dealing with the trucks and the drivers and things like that. So it's really the two location thing helped kind of guide us in the direction of dividing the responsibilities. Yeah. And I know the things he does, but I have no idea when he's doing them, how it's done. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're divided that much as far as responsibilities go at this point. I'll handle all the banking issues, financial, truck ordering. He'll deal with payroll, billing, things like that. So we just found our way to a natural division of responsibilities. And so we don't end up stepping on each other's feet. We don't do double work, both of us working on the same thing at one time. So really it's just, and it's really odd. Like our two locations are so different. Like Union City is busy, busy, busy. All the light duty runs out of there. Noonan down where I'm at, it's a lot more low key, lower volume. We're not doing a lot of light duty down there at this point. All our heavy trucks, our transport trucks, our road tractors, everything runs out of Noonan. Truck repair shop. We've done some wrecker bed installs. We do all the work on our own stuff, hydraulics, electrical, anything that needs to be done, we handle in-house now. That started probably about 2012. We're using an outside mechanic at that point. That's okay when you're running like 8 trucks. You get to 20, 30 trucks, you need some in-house maintenance because you need to be the priority. You don't need to tow your broken truck to it and wait for him to get to it. Well, we can't do that.
When you first made that decision, was it hard to or feel confident that mechanic was going to stay busy?
So I'll tell you, we had a heavy driver working for us. And part of our office had one small bay that we rented down in Noonan. And we had a truck go down. I think a turbo went out on one of the trucks. And the driver said, man, I don't have much to do tomorrow on my day off. You want me to come in and swap that turbo out for you? You can do that? Yeah. Well, he made the mistake of making that offer a couple more times, Hey, need a radiator in this truck. I'll take care of it for you. Don't worry about it. I'll have it done tomorrow. Okay. And then after a couple of times, I what don't I realize is going on here? Like, what is your real experience? Because at that point, I thought he was just a dump truck driver and a wrecker driver and, just a CDL class A guy. And he goes, I was a heavy duty truck mechanic in the military. And I also had training, some diesel school down in, I think, Florida.
Wow.
He'd gone through a full college type diesel school down here. So this guy could rip into anything. And finally I just said, man, aren't you tired of that truck? Would you rather be our mechanic? And he took the job.
Wow.
So he was already an established employee.
That's awesome.
We knew what to get out of him. And he made the mistake one day of offering to fix one of our trucks and ended up being our mechanic for years. And he's one of those stories, we've seen it so many times, and I'm not sure there's anything more gratifying than seeing someone come to work for us. They're jumping apartment to apartment. They might have a car, they might not have a car. And 3, 4, 5 years later, that same employee is now purchasing their first home. They're driving a nice car now. They're actually taking vacations instead of just cashing in their extra vacation pay to pay some bills. They're on a road to success. And when you start seeing them grow like that, man, that is awesome.
That really is.
That is really cool to see them. And we've had that story play out over and over the past 15, 20 years. And I love it.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
Oh.
And that's a story that I'm going to make sure everyone at Harbinger hears, because you probably heard it at one point or another, but our mission is to be a catalyst for growth because we believe that a thriving business fosters a thriving individual. If we can help a company grow, then that type of story happens. And we see it again and again. If a company has your type of mindset, which is not just short-term immediate gratification greed, and they're thinking long-term, you can't help but think about, how do we use this company for good for people and to help their lives? That's super awesome.
That's another great thing about being a relatively small local business is your ability to interact with the community. We sponsor the youth mountain bike team in Coweta, which is, I believe, up to 100 riders now, and they're all school-age kids. We sponsor them. We help them out. We're actually fortunate enough. They were growing fast, and they were having to pack up all their trucks with equipment. The coaches, all the equipment for these bike meets and everything, they're having to put in their pickups, and it was a real pain in the butt. And I kind of heard them kind of griping about that a few times. And I went back to Bart and I said, "Hey, man, they had mentioned something about finding a used trailer." I went back to Bart. We were having lunch one day, and I said, "Hey, man, I think the youth mountain bike team could use a nice trailer to go to the races with." I'm good with that. It goes back to the lack of greed, right? Here I am. This is my baby, right? I'm a lot more involved with that sponsorship and interaction with the Sway team than he is. And I loved the fact that I went to him thinking about this good-sized purchase, I said, I'd really like to do that for that team. And without hesitation, Bart said, "Let's do it." We bought a trailer, built it out specifically for what they needed, and had it wrapped. And it looks great. And they've had it probably, I think, 4 years at this point. And they take it to every race, every practice, everything. The nice Southside logo down on the side. Yeah, we didn't make it obnoxious. We wanted a little bit of credit for that, But yeah, and they love it, and they've thanked us year after year for it. So stuff like that, I really love supporting youth sports. I want to see more kids outside than on a television inside.
100%.
any little thing I could do to help promote that, I'm going to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a 2.5-year-old grandson now. That kid is out in the woods, out in my son's shop, playing with stuff.
It's the way.
He's that boy's being raised right.
That's awesome.
And he's real hands-on already at 2.5. He's so good at figuring things out.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, I don't know if I want him to be the third generation of Southside or not. But
well, speaking about the second generation, your second generation, tell us how your son got involved in the business. Obviously you have a good culture, and I've seen that. Like if a child of an owner wants to even be involved in the business, that's a testimony itself to the culture that you and Bart have built. But what has that been like in terms of him wanting to engage with the business and then potentially, I know he was just promoted. I'd like to hear more about that.
So another interesting origin story. So many towing companies are family-based. But he started working with us after school when he was in high school. Put him right in the truck shop. You're going to work. You're going to get dirty. You're going to get hot out there. That's your job. He took right to it. The mechanic I just spoke about, took my son under his wing and started teaching him everything. By probably 19, 20 years old, Jeffrey's elbow deep in engines, swapping injectors, turbos, pulling transmissions, doing brake jobs. And this was very important that he spent those years getting dirty in that truck shop. He gained the respect and trust from all the drivers that he's now managing, right? I love it when I get compliments about him saying, yeah, he's not like the usual owner's son that's just like spoiled and gets it. He was in there working. Ended up getting trained on a rotator, right? He's never had his Class A CDL. He can't drive the rotator, but he's a fantastic rotator operator. So he started going out. We'd have CDL guys that didn't know how to use a rotator. So he'd start riding shotgun. They'd get him out there.
Wow.
He'd run the truck, do the job, come back. So he started gaining a lot of trust and respect there from the operators. And eventually we needed someone in the front office. And he'd been paying his dues in that truck shop for, I think, about 8 years when he came to me and said, hey, I'd like to try that position in the office. And I said, I'll give it a shot. We'll see what. And so my intention really was the person that left kind of took over a lot of work that I used to do. So I was familiar with everything. I knew it. So I just kind of took him in and started training him on the things that need to be done in the office. DOT compliance, helping to get the auction set up, anything administrative, anything dealing with the drivers, setting up their training schedules, all that stuff. Man, he took to it fast. Took to it really fast. And we realized he's one of the most organized people I know. He's very efficient. He stays on track. He doesn't get sidetracked. If he's got a task, that task is being completed before he moves on to something else. And our bookkeeper, we use a fractional bookkeeper, and he deals with them. He gets them all the paperwork they need for everything from taxes to payments to everything. And they always make the joke, we're recruiting him. We're hiring him away. He is more organized than anyone in this office. We love dealing with him, right? And then eventually we hire someone to replace for that position up front at the front desk, and he moves back into an office and really dives a lot deeper into the operations of the company, to where I was starting to be able to shed some of my responsibilities, right? And I like that. Leaves more time for mountain biking. But so he just naturally started falling into my role. And
he took it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've called him facility manager for a few years because he just kind of runs back and forth between two places trying to get done whatever needs to be done. And it might still be working on a truck. He might run to Union City first thing in the morning to work on a rollback and get it up and running again. Or he might come down and work on DOT compliance work in his office all day, just gets it done. And he's made my life very easy at this point. I joke around about being half retired. I still have my tasks I have to take care of, but most of my day-to-day workload is taken over by him now. So Bart and I met not too long ago and decided we're going to make him operations manager with the intent of both Bart and myself being able to step back a little bit, start enjoying our time a little bit. And he jumped at the chance and he's running with it. And tasks that Bart and I have meant to get done for years. We've got a piece of commercial property across the street from our Union City location. It needed a bunch of work. Jeffrey's jumping in. He's remodeling the place, had it all painted. He's having a break room built inside for the drivers up there and everything. And they're all loving that. And he's just hit the ground running with this new position.
Wow.
And I love what I'm seeing.
That makes you proud.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And to have people in the industry make the comment about he's not your typical owner's kid working at the there's nothing else I want to hear.
Huge compliment.
Yeah.
And well, I guess if he one day takes the full responsibility, wouldn't it be cool if when you deliver that news, everyone gave a standing ovation?
That would be awesome. I know he'd get it.
That would be awesome.
I know he'd
awesome.
get it. Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Last thing I want to ask you about, I want to ask you for your specific advice with two categories of individuals that are in the towing space. So the first one is someone who is looking to get in it for the very first time. They're looking to actually they look at what you've done and they're like, that's where I want to be one day. And the other is maybe they have a going concern, maybe they're a second generation and they're taking over, maybe a fleet of 7 to 10 trucks. What would your advice be for both of those people at those different stages of their growth?
So the startup, okay to plug my podcast?
Yeah, please.
All right. So we actually just started a little hiatus after 6.5 years. We'll see where it goes. But I've been a part of the Tow Business Podcast for 6.5 years. By the way,
you should post this on that podcast.
Oh, probably will. Probably will. That's a good idea.
Yeah, people probably are not super familiar with your story, I imagine, because you don't talk about it all the time.
Oh, we've been interviewed on our podcast.
Yeah,
we've had people from the industry interview us.
Nice.
So those were a lot of fun. But the person starting out, what I see most frequently is people want to get into the towing space, and their first thought, and look, it's the most exciting part, buying a truck, right? Totally backwards. The truck should be the last thing you buy to start a towing business, right? You've priced out your insurance, find a lot, get an idea what your expenses for an office are going to be, phone lines, cell phones, figure out what your fuel expenses are going to be. You need to develop your rates to fit where you want to get to. So many guys start out with an old truck, thinking, okay, I'm going to save money. I was able to buy this truck outright for 10 grand. It's not the best. I'll get rolling, I'll get something better. But the problem is they're setting their rates based on the expenses they're seeing with that truck. In a couple of years, that truck needs to be replaced. You don't have any money to replace it. You've got to figure out your costs. Don't buy a truck until the biggest shock to people is the insurance cost. And you feel bad for these guys. They'll go buy a truck. They sunk every penny they had into getting this used truck, and they're all excited about getting into the towing industry. They may have already been in the industry, maybe not. Don't buy the truck first. Don't figure everything else out first. And one good thing about the towing industry is there's a lot of people that'll help you. If you are looking to start a towing company, find somebody that'll talk to you. Find a company with a good reputation. Ask the owner if you take him out to lunch and just pick his brain for a little bit. Now, I would suggest maybe trying to locate that other company maybe 20, 30 miles away, right? Someone in your town's a lot less likely to talk to you and help you get into business. So yeah, you just don't do it backwards. Start with your costs, figure out what everything's going to take, then make the decision on whether or not you should buy that first tow truck. A lot of times when people figure this out, they probably wouldn't have bought the tow truck.
Count the cost.
Yep. As far as the guy, maybe second generation taking over, whatever, maybe buying a small company, it's really got to be it's very similar. Know what you're getting into. Understand that those tires on that truck are going to be replaced every 6 months, and oh yeah, it's going to cost you $5,000, right? A lot of people don't think of that. Maintenance costs, people forget to think about that. When I started my first company, I had a friend that worked in IT, and he actually built a spreadsheet for me where I could play with numbers and plug different fuel prices in, different insurance rates in, and this thing would actually generate what my fees should be. So you'd put all your costs in, you'd put your desired profit rate in there, and it would say, okay, this is what your rate needs to be.
Did it like manage your utilization too? Meaning like how often you're actually,
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, you could change how many calls a day you're running, get a good idea. And that allowed me to set sustainable rates from day one.
Wow.
Right?
That's huge.
You can't, to either of those guys, you can't base your rates on the guy down the street. You got to know your costs, figure out how much profit you want to make, and that becomes your rate. That's the only way you're going to sustain and grow.
Because the guy down the street, maybe you're going out of business and you just don't know it.
Yeah. You don't know, right? Oh, God, how's this guy doing things $20 a tow cheaper? Oh my God. Yeah. Well, all of a sudden,
he's gone.
And that's unfortunately a lot of guys that start out, first thing they do is start knocking on doors, repair shops and stuff. I can do it cheaper. Give me your business. I can do it cheaper. Don't race to the bottom. Race to the top, So know your costs, know what kind of profit you want to make. Unfortunately, profit seems to be a dirty word to some people these days, but without it, you don't
get to impact people's lives.
You don't even, right. If you're not profitable, you can't sponsor that youth mountain bike team, right?
Or add benefits or give a raise or anything else.
Right? I mean, there was zero benefits at Southside. And if we based our rates on the equipment we had and didn't realize they were going to need to be replaced real soon, who knows? If we didn't know that going into the business, who knows where we'd be? It would have been a lot harder, I'm sure. I think we definitely would have made it eventually. It just would have been a rockier road to get there. So, yeah, we know your costs.
That's good advice. I know I said that was the last question, but one more. Because there's something that you talk about that I want everyone to hear, and it's really about the slow down and move over movement. And
thank you.
When you first told me about that, when we made the video way back in the day, I was shocked by the statistics. I'd love for you to share some of that.
Yeah, so slow down, move over. It's now a law in all 50 states. It varies, but basically, if you are driving down the highway and there is a vehicle on the side of the road with flashing lights, doesn't matter, ambulance, tower, PD, fire, DOT, if there are flashing lights on the side of the road, you are required to move over one lane. If you're unable to move over one lane, you're supposed to slow down below the speed limit and pass them cautiously. It's something I'm very passionate about. For obvious reasons, we need our people safe. We need them coming home at night. I've got too many friends that have lost employees being struck along the roadside. I've got friends that own towing companies that have had two. I have two friends that have had two employees struck and killed. Impaired driving and distracted driving have really ramped up the statistics. right? We hit, I believe our high, you almost feel weird saying high, but we hit a high a couple years ago. I believe 66 towers in 1 year were struck. And this is brought home every October. There's the Tennessee Tow Show in Chattanooga, but that's also, well, most people will be surprised to hear, there is an International Towing Museum up there. Chattanooga, Tennessee is the birthplace of towing. That's where our memorial wall is, right? So every year in October, we go up and we're involved in the ceremony where the names from that previous year get added to the wall. The owner, the founder of Southside is on that wall. He was put on in the first year. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So if you're hearing this and you're unaware of the slow down, move over law, I mean, it's real simple. Slow down and move over. That's like, a lot of people say, you know, that's our office. Our office is the shoulder of the highway with cars going by at 80 miles an hour. How would you feel if you're up in your office working and you've got hundreds of cars flying by you at 80 miles an hour, right? It's nerve-wracking. It's tough. You've got to watch the traffic. You've got to watch what you're doing. We do everything we can. They wear their Class 3 ANSI vests. Got the amber lights. We're one of the few that'll put out advanced warning. If we know we're going to be on scene like over an hour, we'll throw out signs. We'll get an arrow board out there directing traffic away from us on the side of the shoulder. That's something our industry needs to increase, right? No insurance company is going to want to pay for your traffic control. I don't care. You're being billed for traffic control because that's keeping my people safe. And I wish everybody would do it. I know of one company, they've actually got a little pickup truck with an arrow board on it. And they have an employee that just sits on the shoulder. And if the traffic backs up further, he backs down the shoulder, right? Because you're supposed to keep your first advanced warning sign at the back of the backup queue. So they just have one dedicated guy in a little Ranger pickup truck that does that. And that's a great idea. They're successful enough to where they realize they're not going to be paid for that, but it's worth it. So that's how we feel. We've had working a wreck with PD, shut down highway in the past year and a half. We've had 2 trucks hit. We're working a wreck in the middle of an intersection and somebody just comes flying around the police cars and into our truck. No injuries, but one truck got totaled. The other one sustained some damage, but we were able to repair it. And the one that got totaled, he was working his truck in the intersection. He got his loaded, and then our other driver said, "Hey, can you give me a hand with something?" Luckily, he did, because that made that driver walk across the intersection. And as he's walking across the intersection, that's when our truck gets stuck. Both times, uninsured, impaired drivers, both times. So we need you not to drink and drive. We need you to pay attention to your surroundings, stay off your phone, and please slow down and move over when you're passing a vehicle on the shoulder of the road with flashing lights. Just keep everybody safe. I don't care how good of a dinner your wife cooked you that night. It can wait 5 minutes.
Your driver wants to go home too.
My guy wants to go home and eat dinner.
Yeah.
So
no better way to end it than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and the wisdom as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's fun. I'm not normally on this side.